Hello everyone, what is up? Welcome back to another episode by the Pokeymonster. The Netherlands is a very small European country that is for a large portion surrounded by ocean, specifically the west coast and the north coast. The more you move to the southeast, the more inland you go towards Germany and Belgium. A large portion of the Netherlands is also below sea level. Weather conditions vary heavily throughout the country and the year, and sudden changes can appear as well. For example, one day or week we have snow and hail, the other week we have a heat wave. At night it can freeze for minus 15 degrees Celsius, and during the day it can be 15 to 20 degrees Celsius when it's very sunny and the wind blows from the right direction. And it has been warm for a long time already. It can even get up to 35 to 38 degrees. Now, why am I talking about the weather conditions in the Netherlands? It is simply because they impact the condition of your Pokemon cards, and specifically when you want to keep them stored away for a very long time. When it has been raining for a long time, whilst also being very hot and high temperatures, it will create a more tropical climate, which causes a high humidity in itself. Other times, when it has been freezing for a long time and very cold with the wind blowing from a certain direction, it can also become very dry. And the moist in the air, which is explained by humidity, can really impact the condition of the Pokemon cards. As you can see, it's now 1 p.m. and it's 25 degrees in the late spring, May 3rd, 2025. And my Pokemon cards are stored in the attic, where I also record my YouTube videos. And in the basement and the attic it's already a bit more humid compared to a regular living room. So today I want to talk a bit about how I tackle these problems and how I try to store my Pokemon cards away for a long time and preserve the condition. Across the entire storage area I have placed these kind of buckets. So here we have another one next to my cards. And when we open up the closet with the storage, there's also one more here. Now, what are these things? I will show it to you on the desk. And I want to try to explain a bit to prevent humidity and molding of the cards, and basically also curving of the cards. Okay, so here you can see the refill bag of the humidity absorber and the case of it where you have to supposed to put it in. You can already see the water on top of it. Today we're going to replace these bags in the cases that I have standing around in the entire room. There are 3 currently. So you can understand that it is financially not a really good solution to keep the humidity down in the room, because these are disposable. Now, I've heard about electric dehumidifiers as well. I've seen them in multiple game rooms, card storage rooms. It's a bit like climate control, I envision. And if you have a solution that is driven by electricity only, and you only have to empty a cup of water once in a while, that is more efficient and financially responsible as well than replacing these bags. Specifically when you have solar panels to regenerate or generate power. But what you see most of the time is that the initial investment of such machine, the initial price that you have to pay is a lot higher compared to these bags. These bags are 50 bags for 60 euros. The first one, the cases that you need is, including one bag, $3 or something. Well, electricity powered machine costs like $300 if you want a good one. Basically what it is a silicate or some type of salt that attracts moist or detracts moist from the air basically. And when the moist gets in the salt, it drips down into the lower container here, where the water is stored until you throw it away. But every time this absorbs water, it gets smaller and smaller and the effects wear off. So before we're going to replace the bags into the containers, I want to explain a bit what humidity can do to the cards. So what really intrigued me, and I only heard for the first time a few days or maybe a week ago, is that a friend of me showed me a booster box case. And on the sticker it stated printed in the Netherlands or something like origin Netherlands. So apparently For a while now, Pokemon cards are printed in the Netherlands, which must mean that the conditions are generally nice for the Pokemon cards to be developed and printed and also distributed from there and stored away for a certain amount of time. And in my opinion, it was always better if you have higher ground. Like when you go to the southeast of the Netherlands, you go towards Germany with mountains and higher up compared to the sea level. Because I thought less humidity is better for the cards. You can better have a too dry climate than too wet. Because what happens when the cards are getting too wet? Well, you can envision if all this water was through the air, and when it comes down a little bit, when it starts to settle on a certain area and surface, you can understand it can create stains. But if water is on a same spot for a longer of time, it also gives it creates opportunities for mold to grow. And once mold starts to get on the cards, which is luckily for me not the case on this, but I have a video somewhere where I purchased from another Dutch store a Pokemon card that had the entire backside of the card covered in mold, and you can only see it when you do this. But the stains, you will never get rid of them again. You cannot demold it. That's just forever. Another effect of too moisty and high humidity is that the card starts to curve. You can see the card going to bend like this way towards the foil area when the humidity is too high. You can see it a little bit here on this Roserite trainer gallery. Mostly the foil cards will see the effect first, and it curls inward. I think it had to do with the foil layer. It pulls the other layers of the card towards it. It shrinks the foil layer. And the funny part is, if you get Pokemon cards or order Pokemon cards from Japan, what you see most of the time is if this is the front and this is the back, the card is curled this way. So it's more hollow compared to like this way. And that is because it's too dry in some areas of Japan. You see this happen as well sometimes, the curvature being like this. I think that is when the foil layer expands due to it being too dry. So it can really, weather conditions and how you store the cards can in several ways have effect on your Pokemon card and the condition of it. Now what happens is, my understanding is that it is usually too humid here. Except for in the winter when it is really cold, I don't have to worry too much about humidity. It will be a lot drier. These times, especially when it's hot and it rains a lot, that's when you have to worry about humidity. Now let's replace these bags into their containers. I usually do that once a month. I try to keep track of how much water is in each container. And I use the old bags twice. I just rotate it once, empty the container, and then once in 1.5 months, 1 month, it depends how humid it is, I replace the bags. Same process every time. Let's move the camera towards the ground. I hope I have enough light there. Alright, with some zooming and stuff, this will do it. Let's get the 3 containers, and that is number 3. Now let me very quickly show you some examples of being molded. This card came in yesterday, and I think it is from Darkness Ablaze that this card has been sitting in a binder in this sleeve for a very long time in a just too humid environment. You can see stains start to appear on the card on the surface. Surprisingly enough, I thought it was not on the back side, but yes, you can see it also on the back side. But the most evidence you can find on the sleeve itself. You can really see how it is attached to the surface of the sleeve. And once you get that growing, when the mold starts to get in, it's really hard to stop. And even if you are able to stop, it won't disappear. It will always be the same and maybe not grow anymore, but not get smaller. How do you assess the condition of these cards? Simply depending on how large the area is that is affected. In this case, it's the entire front. The surface of the 4 things that are being measured for grading cards is literally, well, maybe a 1. I'm not sure how they do that with the grades and assign numbers to it, but in my opinion it's just a 1. Here we have the 3 new packs. Since these are probably minerals, it's salt, the water that comes from the containers is slightly different than the tap water or the water that is currently in the air. You can't see it, you can feel it, you can feel if it's a climate that is dry or it's humid. You can't see it though. Only when it's really foggy, when you can't see anything with mist. That's also usually a sign that it gets very humid. So here we have the first container, and I already have 1 or 2 stains from this water on my desk, on my playmat. So I want to avoid that and prevent that, so that's why we do it on the floor now. Also, wash your hands after doing this. It says on the packaging even that it's very irritating for your eyes, so keep it away from pets and kids, obviously. So there we have the old package. It is very solid now. Well, it's very powdery when you put in a new pack, but that's because of all the water. It starts to get solid. And once you remove this, I'll put it in the bucket because I throw it away, or maybe I throw it away now, hang on. So then this is the plateau where the bag sits on, and from there it drips through the holes and everything into the container itself. And then from only 1 container you can see how much water is in there, once in a month, once in 3 weeks. And let's put everything together in the bucket and see how much water it is in total. New bag on there. Make sure everything is inside so that it doesn't leak around the corners here. And then we put the lid on. And once you have done that, you can dry it off with cloth a little bit and put it back to work. This next one is from the shelf as well. This bag is entirely empty almost, so I've probably rotated this one for multiple times. And the last one as well. There is still some stuff in here, but I think after using it once or twice, so for 1.5 months, you really have to replace it for it to work optimally. But I could be wrong as well. Maybe it works until it's completely empty, and we can test that one time. Just keep rotating it until all the salt or silicate, I don't really know, it's some kind of mineral I believe, when it's all empty and gone and used. Another container with a lot of water in this one. I think this one was in the closet. I think the effect in closed small environments is the best. As you can see, there is the most water in here, but also the most expensive stuff is in there. Anyways. So I don't really have a way to measure how much water this is exactly. So after replacing all the humidity absorber refill bags, put all the containers back in their place and clean up the mess, you're basically set for another 1.5 months of collecting. So to finish this video off, I measured the amount of water in the bucket. It's approximately half a liter of water. If that stays in the air and it decides to settle down on your cards, in your sleeves, on your sleeves, in your binder, I've shown the example of the Salaman's fee. And it's also weird to explain someone where you purchased the cards, hey man, the card was way too humid. There's mold in the sleeve and it also attached to the card. What the heck bro, what do you mean? I just stored everything away very safely. I took very good care of my cards. They are packed fresh. I sleeved them, I put them in the binder, I stored them away out of the sunlight. An invisible force that you really have to take into account if you want to preserve your cards in a good condition for a long time. So I hope this video was helpful in some way. Thanks everybody so much for watching, and if you like this kind of content, subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video. And I'll catch you all on the next one. Have a great weekend.